Happy Sunday, December 5th is week 13 of the NFL season, and you're watching NFL Pub Hub right here on Pub Sports Radio. What a show we have for you guys. We have popping this off. Our first guest ranked number 1 out of 20 cappers who have joined this show. Jacksonville Zo will be getting it started. Then we go right to number 2, Billy Brisbane getting Bills. Right after that, DieHardMMA podcast, we have our man Clint rolling with us, and Sharpie's Bets. Then Noli Knows, the man who's made unders great again, joins us. And then Flash finishes this bad boy off. Great to see everybody in the chat. What a huge day of football we have ahead of us. It's also the final day of Woodbine Racetrack, and it's snowing, and got some nostalgia about final day at Woodbine. So I'm going to fuck off up to Woodbine and watch the games up there and bet on the horses and, drink vodka mixed with water out of a water bottle. Like the degenerate gambler that I am, Brian Watson in the house. MJG says, roll Tide. What a wild Saturday of college football. Professor Chris ready to get to work. Jedi for life in the house. There is Red Girl. Those of you who don't know, we have a GoFundMe on the go for Red Girl. She got sideswiped and her car got knocked up and she got hurt. And I'm going to be putting more effort into getting that out there so we can help Red Girl, who's being the OG low bagger from day one, whom we love dearly. Red Girl, I hope you're starting to feel better after that horrific incident. Sammy Culmer in the house. Todd Hilton ready to go. Dennis Garcia, Mr. Fun Monk. Kirk Gray, 49ers -3, Steelers +4.5, Raiders money line. This is the least amount of sides that I've had. I have one side. So I've cashed 5 weeks in a row, or been in the black 5 weeks in a row, made money 5 weeks in a row, and got myself back to a decent spot on the season. And I found this week very difficult. Very, very difficult. Walla Walla Dose. Suno D says, no way I give my money to the Steelers. I found that game very difficult. I have such a bias over what happened last weekend with Cincinnati. It was a similar gambling situation. Cab ready to get to work. Cab's being white hot. I hope you follow him on Twitter. Nutflush Allen says, let any low baggers know that Mike Payton and I are down at the Ontario Convention Center in California for Old Town Bakery. Tell them to come see me and I will send them home with the goods. From Nutflush Allen. Nuke Worker in the house. Bon Kui ready to get to work. Turnsy says, hungover as shit, but I'm here. Respect. Nuke Worker and Brian Watson going back. Ticats Argos. I have hit 11 straight in CFL, and I have not bet on that game. It's a very, very tough one. And if I hadn't hit 11 straight, I probably would have. Kirk Gray on Bills money line. Steven Martinez. Mark Schillingberg. Okay, we got to get to work here. Gary Vaughn, great to see you. THC is the RZA. Harold Williams. Tony Cobbs. Lance LaRose. And Walter Colson, thank you so much, my man. Don't have a lot, but here's the dono for. Oh, thank you, Walter. Well, we, sending it to YouTube is not how we can get it to Red Girl, but the thought that you have counts, and I will add $5 to a donation from me, from you, from both of us to Red Girl to help her out. But the thought was wonderful. Michael Ervelina, J.M., Curtis Berry, Logan Dent. Viper NB, Bears Billy Brisbane. There's Slatsy 5-1 NHL last night. I had a boy. Tony Cobbs, thank you for the dono. Rob Garvey, you guys, thank you. All right, let's go over the pertinent information before we bring on your first guest. It's 11:05. We are going to end the show with about 12 minutes before kickoff. Is probably how we want to do it. I'm sitting 78-68, 53.4%. But Vig is a bitch, and the Vig will get you. My average line's -111. Now, I don't just give out the best line available because I give out what I bet, and that hurts me in the long run here. But whatever, it is what it is. Plus 2.45 units, ROI plus 1.68%, average line -111. And my action still to come here is Bengals -3 is my only side, and I'm not comfortable with it. I don't understand how all this sharp money is on the Chargers, but I see it. I notice it. I don't know how they're going to stop Mixon. So I'm also on the Bengals team total over 26.5, but there's something feels just dicey about this with the sharps on the Chargers. To think that they're going to be able to travel to Ohio and take care of business here, I find difficult to believe. Colts team total over 27.5. I'm on Jacksonville LA Rams under 48. I got the Jacksonville Jaguars team total under 16.5 at plus 105. It's still available at that same price. I missed on the Giants. We got the information on Tuesday, and I missed fading the Giants. I wanted to fade them. I wanted to be on Dolphins, but I was just a little late. And the market moved a little bit because of the announcement that it wouldn't be Danny Dimes and it would be Glennon under center. But I did get the Giants team total under 16.5 at plus 105. That's now 15.5 at minus 110. So at least I feel okay about that spot there. Denver, Kansas City under 47.5. And then the only addition I made was San Francisco, Seattle under 45.5. I made that addition last night, and I came very close to betting the over in the Bills Patriots game at 41.5, but it's still going down. Pinnacle's moved it to 41, and I thought there's no need to rush anything there. Zamora says, bro, my Chargers don't have corners. No Samuel Harris, Old Davis, Campbell are bums. There's Birdie in the house. Look, I agree. But whenever there's sharps on the side, I hesitate. Bebsy is not joining us. He's had a gig in North Bay last night. He's on his way back from North Bay. He got Arizona, Chicago under 45.5. He's also Bengals -3. He's got the Chargers Bengals over 51. That's dropped to 49. Dolphins first half -2.5. Colts team total over 27.5 with me. He's got Raiders -2.5. We've seen a big move towards the Washington football team in that game. He's got the Broncos +10. Look, I cashed very easily on the Broncos last week, and I believe in this football team, but something just doesn't feel right. I'm on the under 47.5, which is basically a bet on the Broncos. So then he made two additions. Very interesting, both in the same game. Joe Burrow over 8.5 rush yards and Justin Herbert over 15.5 rush yards. Tasha says gusty wind, 25 miles per hour, and snow. I don't have that for the game tomorrow. In fact, it's not that at all, Tasha. This is a Monday nighter that it gets very warm in Buffalo tomorrow. It's a freak day in Buffalo. When you wake up in the morning, it's cold and it gets warmer and warmer and warmer all day. It's warmer Monday night at 8 o'clock than it is at 8 in the morning. The high on Monday is 52. I believe the high today is 32. So there's not going to be snow. There's not going to be wind. That's all not happening. And it makes me want to bet the over. Peter Hansen says, can you see how the weather is for all outdoor games on the East Coast? You're absolutely right. But Tasha, that's a huge, huge bit. No snow, warm night, strange night in Buffalo. Okay, so there is the important stuff from Bebsy and I. Before we go into bringing in our first guest, the leader here, let's quickly discuss the most important spots here on the card. We expect Kyler Murray to play. We expect him to be in the lineup. We expect DeAndre Hopkins, who's been out with a hamstring injury, to be lined up on his outside. Jalen Hurts, we had some things coming out saying that he was out. Others said it was going to be waiting for a game time decision. But we expect him not to play. We expect to see guard Minshew. So we'll see if that happens. Fields is out. He's listed as doubtful, but we know that Dalton is starting. Daniel Jones is out. Mike Glennon will be starting. Dalvin Cook is out, so Alexander Madison will be in his place. DeAndre Swift is out. Jamal Williams will be the key RB1 for the Lions. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is sick. I expect him to be available. He missed practice Friday. It's a non-COVID illness. I expect him to be in the lineup. Josh Jacobs' ankle is questionable, so he was limited at practice at the end of the week, and Kenyon Drake will probably get reps, but Jacobs is a tricky guy to figure out because whenever he's dealing with, like an ankle injury, there's times when he can break for 100 yards, and there's other times where, he's clearly only going to get 10 or 12 carries. It's a very tricky spot there to figure out.
Minshew is, in fact, starting. Jalen Hurts is inactive.
Perfect. Thank you for that. These are very helpful. So Minshew will be starting, which is what we expected, but there was back and forth, strange information. Darrell Henderson Jr. is questionable, so we'll have to see. It's a thigh injury if Sony Michel gets the reps. James Robinson, questionable. The last thing you want to see, I want to see Carlos Hyde as much as possible because I'm on the Jacksonville Jaguars team total under and the full game under in that game. Alex Collins is questionable. He's been terrible. They just signed AP, so we'll see how much use he has. David Johnson is questionable. It's a issue there. They've got key offensive pieces that are questionable or out, and we'll talk about them for the Texans. J.D. McIsaac is out with a concussion. It's going to hurt them, but you know what that will create is the Gibson show. Jordan Howard is out with a knee injury. Boston Scott is sick, so you got a tricky backfield with the Eagles, and now you have Minshew at quarterback. Philip Lindsay is doubtful, not expected to be in the lineup for the Dolphins, and their running game has looked much better. Damian Williams of the Bears is out, so Khalil Herbert and Montgomery will be getting the run. So that's the main stuff there. From DeAndre Hopkins, we expect to be in the lineup. Deebo Samuel is out with a groin injury. Odell Beckham Jr. questionable with a hip injury. Corey Davis with the groin injury questionable. Antonio Brown out. Devontae Parker activated and available to play. That's a big deal for the Dolphins. Sterling Shepard out. Kadarius Toney doubtful. Brandon Cooks is another big piece of the Texans that's questionable. Okay, so there we go. Darren Waller out, but a lot of talk about no concern there with Hunter Renfrow. And then defensively, Shaquille Griffin out with a concussion. Joe Hayden still out for the Steelers. Landon Collins is out for Washington. So, you know, with Landon Collins out, and we know that Waller's out, Landon Collins would be defending Waller. He would be defending Renfrow. With him out, I can understand why people are making moves on Renfrow this week. Akeem Hicks is out. DeForest Buckner is questionable. Anthony Barr for Minnesota is such a big piece. He's questionable. TJ Watt activated from the reserve COVID list. Eric Kendricks is out for the Vikings. God, they need Anthony Barr in the lineup there. Okay, Roquan Smith is questionable. The Bears, I don't know how anybody wants to support the Bears. And Fred Warner is doubtful. And we heard Bebsy, who's the biggest 49er fan I know, say he wants nothing to do with the Niners this week. I've come close to moving on the Seahawks multiple times, but I did bet the Rams. All right, that's what's up. Let's get to work right now. Thank you guys all so much for joining us. Let's bring in your first guest, currently ranked number 1 on our leaderboard for top cappers on NFL Pub Hub. In week 7, he went 3-1 plus 1.9 units. Week 10, he went 3-1 plus 1.95 units. Ranked number 1 right now. Please welcome to the show, Jacksonville Zo in the house. Zo, how are you, my man?
It helps if I'm not muted. Doing well. I came up off it was a great day yesterday. Double up on Michigan. Probably the easiest bet of the day. Under 13.5 on Iowa. That was nice, easy win, and looking forward to the playoffs now. So now I got to move on to the NFL today, though.
Yes, and you've been very good. Week 7 and 10, both weeks you went 3-1, 6-2 plus 3.85 units. You did tweet out your action as well on Friday, so you locked in spots. Let's go over them. We start with Jacksonville Zo at 1 p.m. Eastern. Philadelphia Eagles 5-7, 4-3 on the road at New York Jets 3-8, 2-3 at home. MetLife Stadium, East Rutherford, New Jersey. 48 Fahrenheit, mostly sunny, 3 miles per hour. Let's move over to the market in this spot and the cash flow. Eagles Jets is how we get started. Let's pull this up right now. We have the Eagles opening up at -7 with the announcement that there would be no Hurts. It moved to 5.5 or 5. This total 46 down to 44. 46 down to 44. When we go over to the cash flow in this spot, we have 68% of the tickets on the Eagles and 85% of the cash on the Eagles. Then 57% of tickets on the under, but just 48% of cash on the under. As we talked off the top, Jordan Howard out. We talked about Boston Scott being questionable. For the Jets, Sheldon Rankins' knee and tight end Trayvon Wesco ankle are doubtful. Corey Davis, we talked about with the groin injury, is questionable. Quincy Williams, calf. John Franklin Myers, defensive lineman, hip. So Rankins did not practice all week. Either did Wesco, but these other guys, like Quincy Williams, he practiced all week, so he's expected to be in the lineup. You got hurt with this spot because you expected Hurts to be in. You got -7 on the Eagles and -105. Talk to us about this move to Minshew and your confidence going into this.
Yeah, well, I had to say that Hurts, he practiced fully on Wednesday. So I thought he's going to play. I took the -7. I still like him at -5 with Minshew. Minshew's a pretty good backup quarterback. I'm used to him playing for my Jaguars. I think the Eagles going to run the ball. That Jets defense is not good. They played maybe a worse team in Houston last week. But Jimmy, Zach Wilson, would you consider so far him to be the worst rookie quarterback out of all the ones that are playing?
I think the jury is still out on Justin Fields. And when Fields came back from the bye week and laid the egg, I would say that Fields has performed the worst of any rookie quarterback. But he's right. You're absolutely right. Zach is right in the conversation.
So his QBR last week in a win in Houston was 9.8. 4 sacks. He had 1 interception, and I think he threw for like 150 yards. And he averaged 6 yards a completion. For me, I think the Eagles will lock him down, maybe even get a pick 6. And I still feel comfortable with Minshew at -5. I don't really like my -7 as much, but I still am all thinking the Eagles coming off a loss, Jets coming off a win. I like this combination for the Eagles to cover.
I get it. I absolutely get it. I'm very interested to see what Minshew does here. And, he's a character guy that can step up in these situations, and we know he wants to be out there so badly. So that's how our number 1 ranked capper, Jacksonville Zo, gets his day started. He's on 4 spots on the card. The next one is a very, very interesting one. 4:25 p.m. Eastern. Baltimore Ravens 8-3, 3-2 on the road. The Pittsburgh Steelers 5-1, 3-2-1 at home. We're in Heinz Field in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. 48 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 10 miles per hour. Joe Hayden is the big issue for the Steelers, but they're not. They're healthier than we've seen them in other weeks. And then you have this Ravens team that is dealing with huge pieces of the puzzle questionable. Now we expect them to be in the lineup. Patrick Queen, Jimmy Smith are questionable right now, and they are badly needed. Let's move over to the market here. We have in this huge divisional battle. What the hell is it? Sorry, 425. We have Baltimore opening up at -3.5. That got to 4.5, and it's back to 4. Back to 4. And cash-wise in this spot, we have 26,555 tickets in. 57% of the tickets, 84% of the cash on Baltimore. 56% of the tickets, 82% of the cash on the under. And you are, well, I'll let you tell everybody who you are backing. Take it away here, Zo. Baltimore, Pittsburgh.
Yeah, so one of my best angles in NFL is on a good team, and I say that with a good coach. I think that still the Steelers are a good team. Big Ben, everybody beats on because he hasn't been playing as well the last couple of years. But they get blown out by Cincinnati, and nobody and their brother wants to be on Pittsburgh after getting blown out. But in the NFL, you have to think week to week. You can't have bias based on what happened last week. Pittsburgh, 6 out of their last 7 games, they've either won or lost by 4 or less. And the Chargers being the closest one, they lost by 4. They get blown out. It was 6-6 that they were within 4 or won the game. Now you get the Ravens team here coming off Lamar Jackson looking great with 4 interceptions in his last game against Cleveland. You're sitting there thinking, why would you be on the Steelers after getting housed by Cincinnati? It's in Pittsburgh. They always play the Ravens tough. I love my Ravens. my Steelers plus 4.5 here. I think it's the right side to be on. I think all the public's going to be on the Ravens after watching the Steelers get housed last week. I think the Steelers will either lose this game by 3 or win it by 1. I think it's going to be a tight game all the way. Pittsburgh Ravens, one of the best rivalries in all of the NFL. Should be a great game, but I like getting the points in this game.
What do you think of this total? It's an interesting one. opened up at 43.5, sitting now at 44. It only lasted at 43.5 for an hour when it came out on Pinnacle, but it hasn't moved from this 44 spot. What do you think of the total?
Well, I like for TJ Watt coming back from the Steelers. That was announced yesterday, coming back off from the COVID list. That was a big gain for the Steelers. Too many questions for me, Jimmy, on the Baltimore defensive side. With all the players. Now, if we came closer to game time and it was announced who's in and who's out, but Jimmy Smith and Queen, very key components for the Ravens. I lean towards the under in this game now that it's 44, where I can get a 24-20 kind of push. But I'm not it's not something I would bet. I just lean towards the under. If Queen and Smith are playing and knowing the way Pittsburgh's defense should play in this game against Lamar, they're used to Lamar. This is division rivalry. They both know each other very well. So Lamar's running is not going to surprise Pittsburgh at all. So I just lean towards the under in this one, Jimmy, now that it's at 44.
Yeah, perfectly put. In the same situation with me and why I'm not on the under right now. Sammy Calmer says Chiefs down to 8.5-point faves. You know, it just reminded me so much of the Falcons spot when the Falcons were 10-point dogs, you know, went down to 8, and then they got destroyed. And this same thing here, because putting the Broncos at +10, a lot of people were going to be interested in them. And that's the only reason why I stayed off at this point. Okay, let's move on to the next spot on your card here. And it is Broncos Chiefs. Perfect timing. Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City, Missouri, 54 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 12 miles per hour. Broncos, as we said off the top, no Melvin Gordon. They have Dalton Risner, Garrett Bowles, Quinn Maniers, Bobby Massey. I mean, those are 4 guys on the offensive line that are questionable. That's very dangerous. Very dangerous. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is sick, but we expect him to be in the game. That's about the most important key spots. So we have 8.5s now across the board from this opener at 10. This total is down to 46.5. I got in on this at 47.5 on the total. Take it away here, Zo. Broncos Chiefs.
Yeah, I'm on the Broncos here +10. I end up having to pay -120 on this one, Jimmy, to get it at 10. But here you have a divisional game, very familiar opponents. I think it is official that the Chiefs tax is back and the line is getting inflated because it's the Chiefs again. You'd be very profitable, Jimmy, if you started betting against the Chiefs in the second half of last year and bet against them all this season. You'd be very profitable. The Chiefs are loved by fans, and Vegas can inflate the line. I just think the Broncos are going to keep this within 1 score. The Chiefs probably do win the game, but I think 10 points is way too many for this game. The Broncos do have a good defense. They get Bradley Chubb back. They had a nice win last week. Chiefs coming off a bye. Everybody knows if you gambled a lot in the last 5 years of the Andy Reid's record coming off of a bye is phenomenal. I just think that this year with a divisional opponent, there isn't so much. And then there's question of how much is Andy Reid still coaching these days? He's getting older. He's got his assistants in Bieniemy and the defensive coordinator. I'm trying to think. He's the ex-Giants defensive coordinator, and I'm drawing a blank on his name right now, Spagnuolo. But I just think that 10 is just too much. Now you're getting down to 8.5. This could be an 8-point game. So I love the double-digit spread here. If it gets to 8, I wouldn't bet it at all. But I think Denver should be able to cover double digits. Denver's not a bad football team.
They're not a bad football team. The Chiefs' offensive line and defensive line has been strengthened so much over the last 3 weeks that something is just – my first instinct was to take the Broncos, and I was like, you know what? Something just doesn't feel right here in the pit of my stomach. and I've stayed off of it. But I can completely understand the move. Now you've beaten the market move, so you got to feel good there. We still have the sharps on the Chiefs. 39% of the tickets are on the Chiefs, but 54% of the cash. So public is on the Broncos, but the bigger bets are on the Chiefs. And the market's moving towards the Broncos. 65% of tickets are on the under. 34% of cash is on the under. Trusty's on the over. You got to like those numbers, Trusty. So there you go. There's Broncos Chiefs. Final game on your card, and we can't put too much time into it here, Zo, but we do want to hear your breakdown for sure. It's Patriots Bills, Highmark Stadium, Orchard Park, New York. So it gets warmer as the game goes on. It gets warmer as the game goes on. I guess maybe at that point, maybe at 8:20, it's starting to get cooler again. But it's 43 Fahrenheit, so there's no chance of snow. There's only possible showers, which is light, and 14 miles per hour, and the wind gets better as the game goes on. Take it away here, Patriots Bills.
Yeah, I'm on the Bills minus 2.5. The thing for me is, and I saw the comment earlier about the bad weather, and that was reported earlier in the week that this was going to be a bad weather game, but that's gone away now. If there is any wind at all, I get Josh Allen's arm, and I will not take Mac Jones's arm in a bad wind situation. He's not a weak arm, but he's not like Josh Allen. He doesn't have a cannon. The Bills at home here, I think that they're going to prove that why everybody's so high on the Bills. They had some lumps losing to the Jaguars, and that Tennessee loss was just brutal with Josh Allen not being able to get footing on a 4th and 1. But I just think that everybody and their brother now is going to be on the Patriots because they're won 6 or 7 in a row. It's time for the Bills to put their statement on the division that it's their division. It's not New England's division. And I think you see Mac Jones come back down to earth a little bit here. It's his rookie year. He should start to hit a little bit of a wall right now. He's not used to playing this many games. I love the Bills at minus 2.5.
And God, the weather's changing so fast. So in 3 or 4 hours, we have a whole new weather report. You're right. I had the wind dying down. That has changed now. They have it getting windier and windier. And it does cool down now come kickoff. Wow. So it gets up to 51 degrees now at 8 a.m., 51 Fahrenheit. But it'll be 36 and 24 mile per hour wind now at kickoff. Wow, just changing so fast. Walter Carlson is on the over 41. We've got to go very quickly. Could you touch on that total? If I give you a free $500 bet right now on the total at 41.5 and a hook, would you go over or under it in the Bills game?
I would go under. If it's going to be that windy. A lot of people look at wind and rain differently, or even snow. I think wind is the worst out of all of them, Jimmy. And it really depends. Is the wind blowing across the stadium or is it blowing from behind one end zone? You'd be surprised how I would have to know that before I bet the over-under. If it's blowing behind one end zone, it'll be an advantage for one team that has the wind to their back at 26 miles an hour. I would take the over if it's coming out of the end zones. But if it's blowing left to right or right to left, it's going to be an under because you can't throw the ball that far down the field and be accurate with it. So it really depends on where that wind's coming from and how Bills Stadium is aligned. And I researched that in a wind game and actually have found that to be successful. If the wind is blowing end zone to end zone, that you can take an over here and all the public's crushing it because they see 26 mile an hour wind. They're crushing the under.
No, it's very well put. I love it. I absolutely love it. Jacksonville Zo in the house. When the Jaguars aren't at home, you can find them here on NFL Hub. And I love it. Thank you for your time, Zo, and your insights. 6-2 plus 3.85 units. Man, you've been crushing the show. He's on Philly -7 -105. Pittsburgh +4.5 -110. Broncos +10 -120. Bills -2.5 and -110. Thank you so much, Zo. Follow our man on Twitter at Zo. I'm going to pop it here.
What do you call it? The old man Twitter.
It's the old man Twitter. Let me just pop this here so everyone can follow me. He's a great follow. There we go. At Zo. He's got the numbers attached to it. The numbers attached to it.
Thank you, Jimmy, for having me on. I really appreciate it. And We are on the road next week, so hopefully I can see you next week.
We'd love that, Zo. Keep up the great work, my man.
All right. Later.
There he is, Jacksonville Zo in the house. We go from our number 1 ranked capper on the show to our number 2 ranked capper who has dealt with some tough luck in that big 275 parlay that he missed by a single yard, or he'd be way out in front because that's a 3.75 unit swing. Another winning week last week. He got that Freiermuth touchdown at plus 250, so he went 1-2 and still had a winning week at plus 0.12 units. He's 13-11, up 3.52 units. His ROI on the show is plus 14.67% with an average line of plus 112. Please welcome to the show, Billy Brisbane in the house. Brizzy, what's happening?
Man, we might have ran bad, but dude, did we run fucking hot on Friday night, man? Dude, we bet Sergio Pettis in the main event, and Jimmy, he literally lost every second of this fight. Spinning back knocked out this dude. Sunday, UFC card was a long one. We're at the end of the fight marathon. Now we flip the page over to NFL, and god damn it, Black Santa's coming to town this year. And I'm looking to smack this card, clean sweep, 2-0, and go walk away this weekend profitable and make all the monies. It's time to level up.
I love it. We're going to start with the afternoon game first, only because his morning game is his best bet, and we want to close on that. Let's get to work here. You start your card in a really interesting game that I've been afraid to make a move on. 4:05 p.m. Eastern. Washington football team, 4-6, 2-3 on the road at Las Vegas Raiders, 6-5, 3-3 at home. Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada. And as we said off the top, Landon Collins and J.D. McIsaac, offensive lineman Wes Schweitzer is out, but the Landon Collins injury is really hurts. For the Raiders, Carl Nassib, Patrick Onwuasor, Darren Waller out. Deshaun Jackson calf, Nick Kwiatkowski ankle, Keyshawn Nixon ankle, Josh Jacobs ankle are questionable. Let's move to the market here. We know that it was a 2.5 point spread, and now it is at 1 at Pinnacle. But Sports Interaction is still at 2. That's interesting. 1.5's on the board, but Pinnacle has moved it to 1. This total opened up at 48.5. There's 48s, but Pinnacle and Will Hill are at 47.5. When we go over to the cash flow in this game, we have 25,257 tickets in. 32% of the tickets on Washington, 39% of the cash on Washington, market moving towards Washington. 41% of tickets are on the under, 58% of cash is on the under. Brizzy, Washington, Vegas, how you making money?
Man, this one is going to be the theme of the card, man. We're not going to overthink this card. We're going to keep this card simple and short, man. Washington has allowed opponents to throw on 62% of their offensive snaps this season and given up a 67.8 completion percentage and a 7.7 yards per attempt. Micro perspective, Carr has gone over his passing yard total 4 out of his last 6 games. Macro perspective, Carr has gone over this total in 7 out of his last 11 games, and he's currently leading the NFL in passing yards. So we're going to take Derek Carr over 264.5 passing yards at minus 120 per BetMGM, and that's going to be my first play of the day.
And you tweeted – I guess you didn't tweet this out, but yes, this is available right now. 264.5 passing yards minus 120 for Derek.
For the show, because you can't give it out because we're on the MMA show yesterday and we're talking about live bets. Nikki's over here saying, give me a good live bet. I hit the fucking computer, right? They blocked the thing. I don't know if somebody from Brigada Atlantic City is listening to our streams, but if you are, make sure you hit that bell notification.
Quickly, you like Derek Carr to put up points. Would you move on the Raiders in this spot with the market moving towards Washington, or does that concern you?
To be honest with you, this one I have circled to come back into because with Darren Waller being out, while I think that's easier to play props as a prop player, I think that's going to mess up their offense. In a macro perspective, if you look at it, they haven't really been that good without Ruggs. And now you take away Waller, and now you get Antonio Gibson getting all the carries. He's been kind of more of a physical back. I don't know, man. I kind of want to stay off of this one. I feel like it's the type of game where like Vegas kind of backdoor covers the spread.
It's a dangerous game. It's a dangerous game. Bebsy moved on the Raiders on Tuesday, and I I've completely stayed off the game. There's my guy Alexi in the house. Arthur Mead Jr., Nuke Worker, Nasty Nate. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Let's move on to best bet time from our second ranked capper here of 20. You've been so solid throughout this run this season for us, Billy, and we love it. Here we go. Tampa Bay Buccaneers at Atlanta Falcons. Buccaneers 8-3, 3-3 on the road. Falcons 5-6, 1-4 at home at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. The big issue for the Buccaneers is safety Jordan Whitehead with his calf injury is out. So he was going to be on Kyle Pitts. Now, it's not a simple situation here for these Falcons either. They have I shouldn't say simple is the wrong word. Deion Jones and Kendall Sheffield are back for this game. And if they are at 100%, it's huge for Atlanta. Absolutely huge, because this Tampa offense is very, very scary. So here we go. I have not moved on this game either. Tampa Bay opening up at -10. They get up to 11. Now they're back at 10.5 at most books. This total opened up at 50. It's now up to 51. When we go over to see where the sharp money lies, we have 44,259 tickets. 47% of the tickets are on the Falcons and 67% of cash are there. Then 64% of the tickets and 54% of the cash are on the over. And look, it's been so simple this year. Bet the Buccaneers to cover at home and fade them on the road, and I have not been able to do it for whatever reason. And now even here I can't do it just because have they turned the corner like they did last year? I've messed up. The Buccaneers have been a pretty predictable football team for us this year, and I've only made a few bets on them. And I think I'm down ROI. I'd have to go because there was times where they would look so bad on the road and I wouldn't believe them at home and I would just get burnt. Best bet time from Billy, Brisbane, Buccaneers, Falcons. Take it away, Brizzy.
Man, this is a tease in the 2022 captain, man. You take 2 hours of sleep and you go through some gematria shit and you start going through some numbers, man. Since returning from injury, Rob Gronkowski, 18 targets over the past 2 weeks, 13 catches, 194 yards. That was a season high in receiving yards last week, which gives him 30 career games with 100 plus receiving yards. That's one game away from tying Tony Gonzalez for the most in NFL history. He's one touchdown away from his 90th, which would match Isaac Bruce for 12th all time. Him and Brady have connected for 88 regular season touchdowns, and one more would tie Phillip Rivers and Antonio Gates, who are in second right now. This is one of the highest team totals on the slate. Rob Gronkowski going to absolutely smash today. And then on top of that, Jimmy, I know you guys out here in the chat aren't down here with the young folk, but the young folk, we be scrolling through these social medias on TikTok and stuff like that. And if you peep that teaser video today, Rob Gronkowski also knew that these records are on the line, because when they got on that flight, he said, this is where the ballers come to play. Orlando, we're about to go score a touchdown today. And I'm rocking with it. Rob Gronkowski, anytime touchdown, plus 150.
I love it. The breakdown, the angle, everything makes sense to me here. Rob Gronkowski, anytime touchdown at plus 150. So those are the two official looks from Brizzy here. Derek Carr over 264.5 passing yards, and Gronkowski anytime touchdown plus 150. You said that there was some other degenerate action that you are interested in the Raiders-Washington game. Did you want to share any of those spots?
Yeah, we're waiting on Jalen Richard news. If Jalen Richard were to miss, that would give a boost for Josh Jacobs in the passing game, because he would have to play a full onslaught of snaps. And I would be interested on betting his over 3.5 receptions. But that's not news that we're going to find out until probably like 4 o'clock East Coast time. So we're going to have to wait for that one. And the last added play on my card was, I'm very confident in these two plays, and I parlayed these two props, and that is plus 354.
Parlaying the two that you have on the board here, Carr and
that's how I am. Derek Carr literally leads the league in passing yards. I don't think people are like realizing like Derek Carr is good at the game of football. He has more passing yards than your favorite quarterback.
I've been so impressed with how he's led this team through such dark weeks at times.
He's some analytical models for like expected like points per game, like fantasy wise, and like if it wasn't for some of these injuries, man, it might come through. So if you're out there and you're looking for some degenerate action, you might want to circle Hunter Renfrow because he might be dollar store Cooper Kupp.
I love it, Brizzy. You've been so strong in the show. We love having you on. Thank you for taking the time to hang with us. I know you've had such a busy weekend as well, so thank you for taking the time. Again, Gronkowski, best bet, anytime touchdown at plus 150, and Derek Carr over 264.5 passing yards, minus 120, ranked number 2 on the show. Brizzy, thank you for the time. Follow our guy on Twitter at getting_Bills. Brizzy, any last words?
Yeah, man, follow me over on Twitter at Getting Bills. We're going into the December stretch, last month of the season, so you know what time it is. It's time to put up or shut up. It's time to level up. We be pubbing. Let's go.
I love it. I love it. There he is, Billy Brisbane in the house. We got Mario White joining us. We also got a dono from Arthur Mead Jr. Says, thank you, Jimmy, Ian, Connor Mack, Maxwell, Smark, and Jose. Says, great call on UTSA. Go Toronto Argos and Winnipeg. Thank you, Arthur. That means so much to us. Thank you for your support. And we're very proud to be here with Pub Sports Radio. And we'll never sell you a thing. We just want to cash together. And that is something that your next guest has done a lot of on this show. And with his MMA action, star of the Die Hard MMA podcast, coming off his first tough week here on the show, but still plus units overall, 9-8 plus 0.1 units. Please welcome to the show, Clint in the house. Clint, how are you, buddy?
I'm feeling good, Jimmy. Coming off of back-to-back winning nights in MMA, 2-0 sweep in Bellator, crushed the UFC last night, gave a little bit back on some live bets, but overall did damn well this weekend, and I'm pumped, man. I'm excited.
I love it. Thank you for joining us here on the show. This will be your 5th week on NFL Pub Hub. You get your card started with Los Angeles Chargers at Cincinnati Bengals. Chargers 6-5, 3-2 on the road. Bengals 7-4, 3-2 at home. Paul Brown Stadium, Cincinnati, Ohio. 48 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 8 miles per hour. You have their safety Gilman out. You have Asante Samuel Jr. concussion out, and he's become more and more important every down. For the Bengals, you know, they have Khalid Kareem illness, doubtful. Their issues aren't who's not going to be there. The issues are the questionable Trey Hopkins and Riley Reif, center and offensive tackle, who are extremely important and are unlikely, if they're in, to be at 100%, which linemen generally are not at 100% throughout the game, week in and week out. So that's the issue here for the Bengals. Look, I felt like I was walking into a trap, but I just couldn't, under any circumstances, expect something different from the Chargers than what we've seen these last few weeks. But I'm very nervous. I was nervous making this bet. Right now, it's a pick 'em, basically. 46% of the tickets on the Chargers, 50% of the cash on the Chargers, 65% of tickets on the over, 53% of cash on the over. It was how are they going to stop mixing? That was my problem. They opened up at 2.5. Now they're at 3. That 3's at plus 103 at Pinnacle and at plus 100 at Bodog. I mean, this could end up back at 2.5 possibly. So now I will I'm likely to become much more scared here, Clint. I've also seen, because you tweeted out your action and lock in the lines, you got a lot of love for this pick as well from the cappers that we roll with. So take it away here, Clint. Chargers, Bengals.
Jimmy, this is a simple question of value to me. I am playing the stock market here. The world could not be higher on the Cincinnati Bengals. They're a young team that have finally started to put things together. They've finally started to learn how to win, and they are riding hot right now. The Chargers are a team that everyone had high hopes for, thought they were just this offensive juggernaut, and they have just let people down time and time and time again. But this line is only sitting at 3. The bookmakers are telling us that this is a close, competitive game. When we go back and we look at the Bengals, Jimmy, they beat, let's see here. They beat the Lions. They beat the shelled-up Raiders after a bad situation. They beat the Steelers twice. And forgive me for not being impressed by the Cincinnati Bengals beating the ghost of Big Ben and what's left of that Steelers squad over there, as well as the Jaguars. You know what? When they face a half-decent offense like the Packers or the Browns, hell, Jimmy, they even lost to the Jets. This Cincinnati Bengals team is still very young, and in my opinion, they're due for a little bit of regression. I know Joe Mixon is an absolute monster. He's setting records the last couple of weeks with what he's been doing, carrying that football and touchdowns. He can't keep that up. There's no way he's going to be able to keep that up for 4 or 5 weeks in a row. So I think the Bengals are due for a little bit of regression. Looking at the Chargers side of the ball, what we have is a team that reminds me a whole hell of a lot of my Minnesota Vikings, Jimmy. They show up and they win and they punch you in the mouth when you least expect it. You look back over the games that they've played, they play to the level of their competition. They only lost to the Cowboys by 3, and they held them down to 20 points earlier in the season. They beat the Chiefs. I know the Chiefs were struggling a little bit this year, but they beat the Raiders. They beat the Browns. They only lost to teams like the Patriots by a field goal. They lost to my Vikings by a single score. They also beat the Steelers. Now, they're coming off a really bad game where they got blown out by the Broncos. Stocks couldn't be lower on the Chargers. This is where they show up, Jimmy. This is where they show up, and they have a damn good game. They may even win this thing outright, but I'll take the 3.
+3 at -105 is what you got. I think that, we've been so often betting against what we saw last week. And that was the big turnaround I had for my season, was when we started doing that, betting against what the public saw last week. And I could be wrong here, but this is what ended up talking me into just believing that the Bengals are going to take care of business here, was that between weeks 5 and 8, 5 and 9, the teams are still figuring themselves out. They're still figuring themselves out. So you get there's a ton of volatility. And at this point in week 13, are we really going to see the Chargers do something defensively that they haven't been able to do? And my dad has tickets to the Chargers games, and he was so angry at the Chargers defense. And obviously this stuff gets in your head. So obviously I have a bias because of it, but he was so angry at the Chargers defense that I bet the opposition every game. So when he's there, so he doesn't lose his mind in anger. And it's just, a blanket bet. So I get it. I get this. I get why. I see the Chargers have some nice pieces here, but they just haven't been able to put it together defensively. Mm-hmm. THC's Rizza says buy low spot for the Chargers. You guys are absolutely right there. It's a buy low spot for the Chargers. And I'm nervous. Look, I'm nervous about this spot. So I'm going heads up against Clint here. Dan Kelly says Chargers didn't really beat the Browns. That was the worst ref call of the year that beat the Browns in that game. NFL has to put a procedure in place to reverse calls that are immediately obvious. Yeah, it drives us nuts. I mean, it's the quarterback, roughing the passer penalties have just been driving us crazy all year. Let's move on to the next single bet on your card before we get into your teaser, Clint. And it is your Vikings. Your Vikings up against the Detroit Lions in Ford Field. No Dalvin Cook, no Christian Darrisaw, no Cameron Bynum. Eric Kendricks and Anthony Barr. Maybe you have the inside scoop there. Also, Mackenzie Alexander. Those 3 are questionable. For the Lions, no DeAndre Swift. It hurts them badly. But Williams can play. Outside linebacker Trey Flowers, running and linebacker Jalen Reeves-Maybin are out, and that's a huge loss to this Lions defense. Let's move over to the market here and then hear how Clint's making money. Minnesota opening up at -6.5, they're now -7. This total opened up at 47.5. It's now at 46.5. When we go over to the cash flow in this spot, we have 41,687 tickets in. 60% of the tickets, 53% of the cash are on Minnesota. And then 55% of the tickets and 56% of the cash are on the under. So 40% of the tickets, 47% of cash on the Lions. Interesting spot here. Take it away, Clint. Your boys are in action.
This is your weekly Vikings PSA, Jimmy. What we've got is a pissed-off Vikings team coming off a loss at the 49ers where the Vikings did what Vikings do. And they let that game get away from them late in the second half. We've seen it time and time again this season. It is painful. It is painful as a Vikings fan. But one thing that people fail to remember is that there was an egregious, obvious pass interference call that did not get made at the end of that game, which would have changed the entire landscape of how that game wraps up. And I believe my boys were about to go down and win that football game if we had gotten that flag. Now, you don't want to rely on the referees. I know that. You can't rely on the officials. But it was a pretty damn bad pass interference flag that they missed throwing there. My Vikings are angry, Jimmy. They're a little roughed up. They're a little bit beat up. But you know what they will do is they will come out here and they will punch this Lions team in the mouth for the first half of this football game. I'm a little worried about that 7. The Detroit Lions have a history of covering these spreads. That back door is always going to be open. They play my Vikings tough, but the Vikings had led in the last 4 of their games, I believe, at the half, and I think that's something that they'll do again here. Like I said, they have a tendency to fall apart after halftime. The other teams make adjustments. They play just to win. They try to squeeze that win out, get it done by a field goal. I think they can get a comfortable lead by halftime here, and considering how upset they are, the aggressive play calling that we've seen the last couple of weeks from Zimmer, which is something very new, not normal, we could be up by 2 scores at the half, and we damn well should be up by 2 scores at the half. Williams is stepping in for Swift. That's a decent chunk of a step down, in my opinion. I like Williams, like you said. He can play, but he's not DeAndre Swift. Alexander Madison, on the other hand, when Dalvin Cook goes down, Madison steps in, fits like a glove. That man doesn't miss a beat when Dalvin Cook goes down. So I don't think we're limited whatsoever on offense, and we know this Lions defense cannot stop the run. Vikings just have too many weapons on offense. I think we get up early, and then we coast. I'll take -3.5 on the first half.
First half -3.5, -115 is our guy Clint's look for his Vikings in action at Ford Field in 1 hour and 9 minutes. Okay, now we get into teaser time. And the teaser records on the show have been atrocious, except for yours. You are the only one who doesn't have terrible teaser record on the show. And again, the sample size is too small. In a couple years, if overall, if 3 years of this show and the teasers are way down, then we'll say, look, stop betting them. But I do think the sample size is too low, although I don't bet teasers myself. Here is a man who's been cashing his teasers. His first leg is the Indianapolis Colts going up against the Houston Texans at Energy Stadium. DeForest Buckner, knee foot, tight end Jack Doyle, knee, and Andrew Sendejo, calf, are questionable. The problem is this. There's sicknesses going on through the Ravens team and through the Texans team, both dealing with it, and it is not good. By the way, though, for the Colts, Buckner, Doyle, Sendejo were all full participants in practice on Friday. Probably shouldn't even be listed as questionable. Colts, Texans, let's take a look at this spot here. We have the Colts, here we go. Opening up at -7.5. That shot to 10 or 10.5. This total opened up at 46. It's now at 45.5. When we go over to where the cash is in this spot, 43,061 tickets in, 27% of tickets and 44% of cash is on Houston. And the market's moved heavy towards Indianapolis Colts. Then we have 43% of the tickets on the under, but 83% of cash is on the under. First leg of your teaser. Take it away.
Jimmy, this one's another one where it's a bit of a public side. And I think I've said that every single time I've come on this show, where I have one piece that it's a public side. I don't want to lay -9. I don't want to lay -10. I think that's too many points. The Colts defense can get gashed when you look deep. Receivers have had success. And we know the Houston Texans, they can huck the ball a little bit. They're not a great team, but every once in a while they put it together. They've got Brandon Cooks. He's always a problem as a deep threat. So they could score here. I don't want to lay that big of a number, but I do think the Colts probably control this game and win comfortably. They probably do cover that spread, but I don't want to risk it. Giving me a teaser gets me all the way down to -4, and I'm much more comfortable in that area. I think they can run all over these Texans. We've seen Jonathan Taylor do it before. I mean, heck, if they didn't have a single wide receiver, they could stack the box, and I still think the Colts would just ram it down their throats and comfortably win this game by a touchdown. So with the running back core that the Colts have working, they can give Taylor some rest if they need to. They've got Nyheim Hines. We haven't seen Marlon Mack in forever, but he's still floating around back there. And this receiving core is just way too hot, Jimmy. If they need to change it up and they need to throw the ball once or twice, they've got the guns, they've got the weapons to do it. The Colts, they're facing a team that's dead in the water, Jimmy. I'm sorry. The Houston Texans have nothing to play for, and they know they're basically wanting to lose, get some draft picks at this point. The season's been over for a long time. I don't even know if they're playing for pride anymore. So just give me that -4. Let me cover that. That's all I'm asking.
-4 on the first leg. I can hear Newkirk saying this. No play for me, but I will never bet the Texans again this year. That's from Newkirk. Let's move on to the second half of your teaser. It involves Washington, Vegas. We've already talked about the situation here with Landon Collins being out, with Waller being out, and Hunter Renfrow being a main option and not having Landon Collins on him. Deshaun Jackson calf, Nick Kwiatkowski ankle, Keyshawn Nixon ankle, and then Jacobs ankle. And I never know what you're going to get from Jacobs because he can play through these. You need the inside information at this point, I think, when discussing Josh Jacobs. Carl Nassib as well is out with a knee injury. Okay, take it away here. We do know that this opened at 2.5. Pinnacle's moved it all the way down to 1. How are you hammering the second half of your teaser?
I'm on the Washington football team here, Jimmy. I'm filling out that teaser. Give me +7.5. I think they will be competitive in this game. I know the Raiders are going to have some success throwing. My guy Billy was just talking about that a couple of minutes ago. They're going to be able to move the ball, but this Washington football team, even losing their best piece, somehow has been looking better in the last 3 games. They're playing well. I know it's a short week, and that's always a little bit scary. But the other thing is, my guy, King Heineke, like, he is showing up, Jimmy. Heineke has turned a corner. He's playing like a real quarterback out there. He can run the ball. He can throw the ball. He can look for different options. He goes through more than just his first read. Heineke is playing his ass off, and he's getting one of his absolute favorite weapons in the world back, and that's my guy, Logan Thomas. You know what the Raiders defense are, Jimmy? I know I used this last week with fantasy stuff. It doesn't always translate to betting, but they are the 31st in points to tight ends. The Raiders can't stop tight ends. And with someone like J.D. McKissic going down, Antonio Gibson showing that he must have gotten a little bit healthy on that break week. The shin doesn't seem to be bothering him as much. He's going to be running the ball. And Logan Thomas is going to get some additional love because they don't have that passing running back option anymore. I think Logan Thomas runs all over these Raiders. I kind of expect a shootout today, if I'm being honest. Jimmy, I think we can keep this thing close. I got +7.5. They might not win the game, but as long as the football team is within 1 score, I am good to go. And I want to add on, Jimmy, give me a Logan Thomas TD. I think I can get +275 on that right now, and I want to make sure I add that one to my card.
Logan Thomas TD +275, going for a big score. Our man Clint, fresh off a very successful weekend in MMA. Thank you so much for rolling with us, Clint. Follow our man on Twitter at DieHardMMA Podcast, and of course, check out his big show every Monday on this channel. Who do you have on your show this Monday?
So this Monday is big card time, Jimmy. UFC 269, big pay-per-view, lots of big names. Super excited about this one. I've got my guy Dan Levy from Half the Battle joining me on this card, and he gave me a little teaser. We might actually get a fighter's head poking in there for a minute on the show. Not promising, but maybe we got a UFC fighter that might dip in for just a minute for Monday's podcast. So hopefully everyone can show up, and hopefully we continue rolling, finish the year strong.
I love it, Clint. You have Chargers +3 at -105. Vikings first half -3.5 at -115. And Clint tweeted all of this out to lock in the lines. He has a teaser with the Colts -4, Washington football team +7.5. That teaser is at -117. And then on this show, he added the Logan Thomas anytime touchdown at +275. Clint, thanks for rolling with us, my man. Any last words for the great cap for supporting the show?
Hey, good luck, everybody. Sundays are fun. This is going to be a great day of football. Manage your risk appropriate out there, and I hope you cash some tickets. See you all online.
There he is. Clint, the star of the Die Hard MMA podcast. Let's bring in your next guest. I get an immediate smile when I talk about bringing him on. He is so much fun to cap with. He also is diving into numbers and studying nonstop. And that's what makes somebody succeed in this business. And if it weren't for one disastrous week where 2 of his double-up props got hurt, if it wasn't for that 1 week, he would be number 1. If you put a line through that week, he'd be the number 1 ranked capper on our show. Now, that week has held him back, but we keep bringing him on because if you look at what he's done overall on the season, other than that 1 week, he's only had one. So this is now his 7th show. He's only had one other losing week, and that other losing week was -0.6 units. So he's come and he's consistently won, and I love capping with him. Please welcome to the show, Sharpie in the house. Sharpie, what's happening, man? Oh, you're muted, my guy. You're muted. Let's get you right
screen.
Here.
There you go. The host had me muted. I heard you talking about me getting screwed on lines, and I started looking at my table like I left something out.
All right, Sharpie. Sharpie ready to attack. And Sharpie, you got a ton of games. So let's go rapid fire. Let's start firing right through them. I'll lead the way and speed you up when we need to, but don't you worry about a thing. You just break down everything and I'll keep you tight. You get started at 1 p.m. Eastern. Los Angeles Chargers 6-5, 3-2 at Cincinnati Bengals. We've talked about Gilman, Asante Samuel out. We've talked about the concern for Bengals fans with Hopkins and Riley Reef on the offensive line. Take it away, Sharpie. Let's roll. Chargers, Bengals, your first look on the card.
Well, I've been watching Jimmy's and Bebsy's Tuesday show for years now, guys. And I hit Jimmy up this week. Hey, man, weather, blah, blah, blah. At the beginning of the week, already knowing Jimmy fucking doesn't give a fuck about weather on Tuesdays or Wednesdays because he's been doing this shit for a long time. So my buddy shoots me a freaking thing saying it's supposed to rain. It's going to be cold, blah, 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 blah on Sunday. Well, technically it is. It just got pushed up until about 5 p.m. This game ends at about 4 p.m. So there may be rain coming at the end of this third and fourth quarter. I still love my bet if it doesn't rain. The bet is Joe Mixon over 20.5 attempts at plus 100 on DK. Here and why, guys. 4 weeks ago, the Cincinnati Bengals replaced their left guard. Since then, they became a run-heavy and attack machine. Also, since that 4 weeks ago, this is the first time the Cincinnati Bengals have had their starting line for 4 straight weeks. This is the longest time in the NFL year for them, and they are pounding. Since the bye week, Joe Mixon is 30 and 28 attempts. They are coming out to feed him and know what type of team they are. We've got the San Diego fucking Chargers, or LA Chargers. Sorry, I got them tattooed on my head, so they're still San Diego. So, yeah, it is what it is, but they suck versus the run. They have been better the last 4 weeks, but the attempts are still there with these running backs, guys. Each of these running backs, if you're a starting running back and not splitting carries, has seen over 20 carries. Dalvin Cook barely hit his yards, but he got over that 20 attempts. So we're just going to smack it. We know the Bengals are going to give him the ball over 20 times. We're not going to worry about those yards, and it's feed Mixon today.
Yeah, I love the look, and I don't think this is a weather. I don't think weather has any issues with whether it's rainy or not. I get it. I get why you liked it more in the rain, but look, the Chargers can't stop a running back at all. So I think you're in business with your first look on the board. Sharpie's got a ton of shots to fire, so let's keep rolling. He starts with Mixon over 20.5 attempts at plus 100. Next up for him, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Atlanta Falcons. We've talked about Deion Jones and Kendall Sheffield coming back. We've talked about the Buccaneers not covering on the road and covering at home. Will that change in the last 6 weeks of the season, just like it did last year? Take it away. What's your look?
Let's be quick with this, guys. The Bucs, they're number one versus the rush. You know you're not running the ball versus them, and they are, 10.5-point dogs, these Falcons are. So what does that mean? Matt Ryan's throwing the ball. Well, Matt Ryan's only hit his throwing prop 5 out of 10 times this year. That sucks. 50%. Who the fuck wants to bet 50%? Not this guy. But I do want to bet something that's 100%. And Matt Ryan over 252.5 pass yards at minus 114 on FanDuel has hit every freaking time he's gone up against a bottom 10 pass defense. He's gone up against four bottom 10 pass defenses this year. He has 300, 283, 336, and 343. He's shattering the number they're giving us by 31 yards. So I'm taking it, and I'm taking it happily.
I like it. It makes a ton of sense. The statistical breakdown for why you're on it is completely on point. Let's move to the next spot. 1 p.m. Eastern, New York Giants, Miami Dolphins. Haven't talked about this game yet at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens, Florida. We talked about off the top of the show that Daniel Jones not going to be in the lineup and Glennon will, but we didn't talk about the other issues affecting both teams. For the Giants, Caden Smith, tight end knee injury, cornerback Adoree Jackson quad, and defensive lineman Trent Harris ankle all out. Sterling Shepard quad, Kadarius Toney oblique and quad are doubtful. And then wide receiver John Ross, illness, Kyle Rudolph ankle, and fullback Cullen Gillespie is questionable. For the Dolphins, Devontae back in action, it looks like, which we've been waiting for weeks and weeks. Maybe Fuller going to be the next to come around and join them. I missed, and it was so annoying. It was just like getting my shit together, and then I didn't bet the Dolphins when I wanted them. I've had them for the last few weeks, and then the announcement came and the market moved, and it didn't even move that much, but I was so angry that I didn't pull the trigger that I stayed off. But I did take the New York Giants team total under 16.5 at plus 105 on Tuesday night. That's now 15.5 at -110. So that was the only thing I did handle. We'll see if that still works for me. But we haven't talked about the market moves, so let's talk about that very quickly here. We have Miami opening up at -2.5. That's up to 6.5 at some books. And I didn't want to take the 4. I was angry about the 4. Wow. Total opening up at 43.5 has dropped all the way down to 40. And then the cash flow probably won't give us the best idea because of the action that would have come in before the announcement of Glennon being the quarterback. But we have 36,744 tickets in, 66% of the tickets, 78% of the cash on the Dolphins, 41% of the tickets, 72% of the cash on the under, and we've seen it drop. But our man Sharpie looking at a player prop here, and I like this spot because of injuries to an important running back who looked very good last week for the Dolphins. But I will let Sharpie fill you in on that information. Take it away, Sharpie.
Man, I'm glad Lindsey ain't playing realistically, and Lindsey is out. So guess what, guys? We've got the trash can Myles Gaskin, guys. This guy, we're going to set this trash can on fire today. The last 4 weeks, he's averaging 18.25 attempts. You give me 18.25 attempts versus the 27th worst rush defense, allowing 127 yards a game, and he's going to smash this rush prop. It's at 50.5 everywhere right now. I think I mistyped it at 55, but you could even look it up now. It's still at 50.5 yards. There's no way he doesn't hit this with 15 attempts, guys. It's just, I don't get it. We're getting this number because the way he played at the beginning of the year when the coach didn't know what the fuck he was doing with his running back, trying to give him 8 carries a game. What are you doing with a guy like Tua or Brissett and not running your freaking running back, guys? These ain't quarterbacks who are going to win you the game. You need a run game to make these guys' pass game better. So this is a Gaskins day for me. It's a trash can day. It's a trash can game. So let's ride it.
Gaskin at 50.5 rush yards available right now. 50.5 rush yards. Next stop for the Sharpie train, Jacksonville Jaguars 2-9, 0-4 on the road at Los Angeles Rams 7-4, 3-2 at home. We're at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California. For the Jags, they have Shaquille Griffin out and James Robinson banged up. For the Rams, Odell Beckham Jr. hip, Darrell Henderson thigh, David Long Jr. illness, and then Rob Havenstein has a foot injury. Offensive lineman. I have moved on the full game under, and I moved on the Jags team total under 16.5 at +105. That hasn't moved, the team total under. I'm very interested to hear Sharpie's look. Take it away, Sharpie, from the player prop area.
One thing I have been doing, guys, is I keep track of just more than what Jimmy keeps track. I keep track of everything I do, guys, and I'll split it up. And we're on week 13, guys. We've got things hitting at over 80% every week. And if we see those, we're fucking playing them, guys. Cooper Kupp over 94.5 receiving yards on DK. He is 9-2 to the number, straight up 81.8% on the year he's hit this, guys. The only 2 times he hasn't hit 94.5 are versus divisional opponents who's probably seen him and know they need to stop a Cooper Kupp. Guess what? It's not a divisional opponent. It's the Jaguars. It's a get-right spot. Cooper Kupp over 94.5. It's just easy peasy, guys.
Over 94.5 receiving yards at -115. We keep rolling. The Sharpie train rolls on. Baltimore Ravens, Pittsburgh Steelers, Heinz Field, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 48 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 10 miles per hour. How are you getting paid here?
Simple and easy. Since we're on the train and we got to keep it moving, Lamar Jackson's pass yards over 232.5, guys, -115. He is averaging 237 yards a game. We're getting 5 yards better on his average, and he's hit this number 8 out of 11 times, 73% on the year, guys. That's a winning bet. So we're going to keep riding winning bets. Lamar Jackson over 232.5 pass yards.
Yeah, I get it. And Ray Beats loving it as well. Sammy hanging with us. We got Maxwell Smart in the house. Truth Teller just joined us. Let's move to the next spot on Sharpie's card, and that's Colts Texans Energy Stadium in Houston, Texas. We just heard that Clint is using the Colts as part of his teaser. How are you getting paid with the Colts?
It's simple. Jonathan Taylor, guys, if you haven't noticed, I know everybody knows, but I'm going to tell you a stat you don't know. Go put a little 20, 30 bucks on Jonathan Taylor to win MVP, guys. He's on pace right now. He's already got 9 straight games, 100-plus scrimmage yards and a touchdown. One person in the history of the NFL has done that. LaDainian fucking Tomlinson. He won the MVP that year. There is no clear-cut quarterbacks, and if there's a time to take a shot, it's on this man, Jonathan Taylor. We're going to ride him over 104.5 rushing yards, guys. Simple. He's their beast. They're riding him. He averages 106 versus the Houston Texans. And last time they played, they won 31-3, and he still dominated 83% of the running back touches. I'm not worried about them getting up. They're going to feed their MVP candidate.
Taylor over 104.5 rush yards. Next up for Sharpie is Broncos Chiefs. It is the Sunday nighter, and with injuries to Broncos running back, I completely understand this look. It makes a ton of sense. Take it away.
It's simple, guys. I've been wanting this guy to have the starting running back position, and everybody in Denver has wanted this guy to have the starting running back position. Javonte Williams, he has been beasting it, averaging 4.9 yards a carry, and he catches the ball out the backfield, guys. They've been splitting carries up with Melvin Gordon this year, and they've been doing it for a fucking purpose. They wanted this guy healthy for their playoff run. Did they expect Gordon to get hurt? No, but for the fact that they have babied this guy and they've babied him to us to give him us a gift. Over 106 rushing and receiving, we're going to take, guys. And I think it hits easily. They have his rush yards at 71.5. His reception yards are at 27.5. I'm just taking 6 yards extra on top of both. That to me is a gift. We're going up against a Kansas City defense that is bad versus the run and do allow receptions to the running back position. I expect him to get 85 to 90% of the workload. And this is a coming out party for Mr. Williams tonight.
Your card closes on the Monday nighter. Patriots, Bills, Highmark Stadium, Orchard Park, New York, and with the weather quickly changing on this spot, now I thought it was going to be warm. Now it's going back to being cold again. Going to be warm in the morning and cold at night, but the wind has creeped up, which makes this bet even more. It helps even more. Take it away, Sharpie.
I don't think this needs help, but it got a lot of help with that win, okay? Josh Allen over 34.5 rush yards, guys. It's this freaking simple. He's hit this 7 out of 8 games. Wait, Sharpie, he's played more than 8 games. 3 of those games were blowouts, guys. We're not going to count fucking blowouts, okay? He's not running the ball when they're up by 30. It's just, why would you? They're not getting blown out. They're not blowing nobody out in this game. And we've got win factors. This guy is going to be the easiest casher of the week. The Bills can't run the ball. Belichick knows the Bills can't run the ball. So, yeah, this is Josh Allen day all day.
Over 34.5 rush yards. And the idea being, and it's an angle that makes so much sense, is that if the Bills are in a tight game where they have to win, he will do whatever it takes to accomplish that goal, which means you're going to have to get out of the pocket and run for that first down, or you're going to have to reach for that first down. This look is just
this game means everything to Josh Allen right now. This is their who's getting the division pretty much. This is a big game. He's going to run in a big game.
Oh, I agree completely. Walter Colson, Taylor Sharpie on props across the board. Again, just that one tough week for our Sharpie, and if we took a line through that week, he'd be number 1 on our cappers list. 8 props for Sharpie. Let's review all of them. We start with Mixon over 20.5 attempts at plus 100. Then we have Ryan passing yards over 252.5 at minus 114. We have Myles Gaskin rush yards over 50.5 at plus 100. We have Cooper Kupp receiving yards over 94.5 at minus 115. Lamar Jackson pass yards over 232.5 at minus 115. Taylor over 104.5 rush yards at minus 113. And then Javonte Williams rush and receptions over 106.5 at plus 100. And Allen rush yards over 34.5 at minus 114. Sharpie, thank you so much for rolling with us. Follow our man on Twitter at SharpieBets and in all your DFS shows as well throughout the week. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the DFS shows?
Man, just pop in, man. Billy and DFS got it handled. I just pop in to give it a little bit of fucking Sharpie, baby, because what's a party without Sharpie? Nothing, baby. Shoo, shoo. That's one sexy fucking bitch right there. Oh, what's her number?
There he
Have a good day, guys.
Sharpie in the house, God. He makes capping so much fun. Let's move on to your next guest, a man that we love dearly here at Pub Sports Radio, and we haven't seen enough of lately. I'm so happy that he is back in action with us. And the first 3 times he joined us, he went 2-1 on his totals. The player props hurt him in week 4, but 2-1, 2-1, 2-1. And I thought that was so impressive. And then week 8, it didn't follow that 2-1 pattern. But still, if you tail this guy across all sports, you would be making money. Please welcome to the show, straight from Long Beach, California, Noli Knows in the house. Noli, what's happening?
What's going on, Jimmy? It's a real pleasure to be here. Like you said, man, it's been way too long. I'm happy to be alongside of you, Captain, with the chat. Everybody, shout out to everybody. Let's make some money.
Let's get right after it. The man making unders great again starts at 1 p.m. Eastern. Arizona Cardinals 9-2, 6-0 on the road. The Chicago Bears 4-7, 2-3 at home at Soldier Field. Chicago, Illinois, 40 Fahrenheit, light rain, 15 miles per hour. We have Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins going to be in the lineup. And the Bears defense has just been getting battered and battered and battered. Roquan Smith was one guy you could count on throughout the season, and he's dealing with a hamstring issue. We're not even sure if he's going to be in the lineup. Akeem Hicks, ankle injury, is out. This is a Bears defense we thought would be very difficult, and now we can't trust them at all. And I really wanted them off the bye. I really expected this would be the buy-on team off the bye. This total opened up at 46.5. It's dropped all the way down to 42.5. Bulldogs still hanging at 43. Oh. Arizona opening up at -7. Now they're 7.5 or an 8 on the board. Noli, take it away.
Yes, sir. Jimmy, you mentioned a little bit about the weather, and that's going to be a little bit of a factor here today. And I'll tell you why, because of the surface that we're playing on. If you're going to take weather into consideration and we talk about wind, there's a slight wind, about 17 miles an hour, but by no means am I going to be making a move based on that. All these factors are going to play into what I believe will happen. The surface here, like I mentioned here with the Bears in Soldier Field, is Kentucky bluegrass, natural grass, which will be affected by the rain. Rain should be coming. There'd be light rain and then rain right in the middle of the game. So I expect that to help us out here, especially when we're talking about Kyler Murray coming off an injury, high ankle sprain injury, had a couple weeks off. They are coming off the bye, but he's the one that seemed a bit questionable whether or not he was going to go today. DeAndre Hopkins, they seemed very confident throughout the week that he was going to be able to go. But when you got a mobile quarterback that has an inability to move around, how much are you going to go out there and pressure him? They get a lead here. I expect them to be conservative and run the ball. You mentioned some of the injuries over there on the defensive side. For the Chicago Bears, they can still get to the quarterback. Arizona Cardinals allow 2 sacks per game on average, and their pass defense for the Arizona Cardinals is a big reason why I like this game. You talk about the Chicago Bears, they've had a big inability to produce any points. They look a little better with Andy Dalton back there, but still giving up a ton of sacks. The offensive line has really been struggling, and here they got a tough ask going against this Cardinal defense. QB rating of 86.5 is what they have allowed. That's 5th in the NFL. They allowed just 6.5 yards per attempt. That's tied for 2nd in the NFL. They get 29. They've had 29 sacks. That's tied for 8th, and they're tied for 12th in QB hits. So I think this is a tough ask for Chicago Bears, and only one way for me to look in this game, and that's going to be under the total. Chicago Bears are 8-3 to the under this year, and Cardinals 5-6 to the under. But like I mentioned, the conditions and these guys coming off injury, I expect it to be a little bit more conservative today.
And the market got all the way down to 42 and then started climbing back up. But again, line chop. And I know the difficulty of our cappers who have to give out picks that you can bet right now. So we take more, care more about trying to get them aligned. And Circa right now still has a 43.5 up. And that's an important hook. Circa, God, if you can get Circa's books, they're really good. They have limits. That's the problem. They have some limits quite often, especially in college. But there we go. Under 43.5, Circa offering the hook.
Especially college totals.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Offering the hook and at a pick'em price. Okay, under 43.5 for Cardinals Bears. For Noli Knows back in action with us. We've missed him dearly. All I hear about is how you're cashing in NCAA basketball at an alarming rate, and I love hearing that. I've heard it from a bunch
They're doing well.
I love it.
They're doing well right now.
Next up, 1 p.m. Eastern, Philadelphia Eagles at New York Jets, MetLife Stadium, East Rutherford, New Jersey. 48 Fahrenheit, mostly sunny, 3 miles per hour. We have issues for the Eagles running attack. Jordan Howard is out, and Boston Scott is sick. Jalen Hurts won't be there. This is a running attack that was putting up 200-plus yards week after week, going up against the Jets team that has the important questionable players going to be playing. So the main ones are Quincy Williams and John Franklin Myers and Corey Davis. They practiced all week. They're going to be playing. Take it away here, Noli, Eagles, Jets.
Yeah, you mentioned it right there. Those are big factors going into this game because the Jets, they don't have a whole lot going for them. The only thing they do have is that defensive front that has produced a little bit here as of late. You look at last week, they were able to put up some numbers. Pass rush recorded 5 sacks, 7 QB hits. Rushing defense still big question mark for this New York Jets team, which I like when I watch this game. You know, you got Gardner Minshew starting for the Eagles. How much are they going to allow him to do? I don't expect him to just go out there and air it out. I expect him to still try to run the ball. You see last week they did run the ball a lot, but also quarterback Hurts takes into that's also you got to take that into account. But here with Minshew, I expect them to still attack this New York Jets rush defense that allows 4.5 yards per carry. That's tied for 23rd in the NFL. They give up 128 yards per game. That's 27th in the NFL. So really not getting it done defensively on the ground. And you see Robert Saleh hasn't been blitzing a lot. You know, you look early after the first few weeks, they were in the top 5 in blitzes, but now they're ranked in the 20s. So they've really took a step back because they had to. You know, you're hurting your coverage. If you don't have the DBs to do it, you can't blitz. And also, when I look at this game, a big part of it is the Jets' inability to really produce much of anything with Zach Wilson back there at the quarterback position. They've been sacked a lot this year, but a big part of it has obviously been Zach Wilson. You look at when Joe Flacco and White started, neither one of those quarterbacks were sacked more than twice. But you look at last week, Zach Wilson was sacked 4 times. That's the 4th time in 7 games that he has been sacked 4 times. So it's obviously on him. The guy really can't really produce much. You look last week, he comes away with the victory, only 145 yards passing, 6.0 yards per catch. I don't know why I said the 0.0, but that was good for a 58.5 rating. So guy that's really not doing much of anything. His yards per attempt under 7. So an offense that's really not pushing it down the field. They really can't produce much of anything. I know that the Eagles, their pass rush and their pass defense is average at best, but going against this team, they're going to look a lot better, significantly better. And so to me, I saw that number. It's been moving up and down a little bit, but I see it in right around 44, and I like the under here.
Under 44 at -110. Breakdown makes a ton of sense. We got Rob Garvey in the chat, hanging out with Rob Sr., capping football together. I love that so much, Rob. I love that you and your dad together. I got on the 18th at the LA Bowl in SoFi Stadium at halftime. Myself and my dad are having a beer with DJ Big Boss and his dad. And I just, so I love it. I love it, Rob. Rob Garvey, Rob Sr. capping the big football card together. Next up for Noli Knows, 4:25 p.m. Eastern. I was so happy when I saw this on your card because I bet it last night. And it was the only edition I made all week. And these midweek editions have been extremely, extremely high ROI for me. And I moved on this as well. I love it. And I can't wait to hear your breakdown to give me even more confidence. San Francisco 49ers, 6-5, 4-1 on the road at Seattle Seahawks, 3-7, 1-4 at home. We're at Lumen Field in Seattle, Washington, 41 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 2 miles per hour. On our Tuesday show, we heard Rob Bebenek, the biggest 49ers fan I know, tell us all the reasons why he doesn't want anything to do with the Niners this week and how he would bet the Seahawks and he might bet the Seahawks. And he still hasn't pulled the trigger on the Seahawks. But these Niners are dealing with injuries. Deebo Samuel has been such a big part of the puzzle, is out. So is Dre Greenlaw and Maurice Hurst. Fred Warner is unlikely to be on the field as well. And the Seahawks look awful. They look awful. Clearly, something's going on with Wilson after surgery, which was something that Birdie and a lot of guys in the chat were saying. And if we had just taken these team total unders week in and week out against the Seahawks, we'd be in business here. Noli knows, take it away. Niners, Seahawks.
Yeah, you mentioned it right there, Jimmy. They really had a tough time really producing much of anything. If I look here, if I can find it somewhere, all my stats here, they really haven't really scored very many points. They've only scored more than 21 once in the last 7 games, twice in the last 9 games. And here they sit at a team total of 21. Yeah, right. Anyways, we'll get to that. They're allowing an alarming rate of sacks, 3.2 sacks per game. And Russell Wilson alluded to that in the offseason. He was blaming his offensive line for the amount of hits he had taken. He didn't really ask for a trade, but wasn't against it. He even named four teams he'd like to go to. So obviously he's disgruntled. He's a disgruntled employee and he's acting like it. How much is this guy be willing to risk himself out there? Is he going to be willing to scramble and do what he does? He does a little bit of the same stuff you saw last week, but still having a tough time producing much of anything. What I look at here, what I focus on, what they've done is that they've abandoned the run. You look at last time, they've only ran the ball 12 times. So you're putting the whole game on Russell Wilson, and that's how it's been for the last 3 years, and he's kind of fed up with it, and you see it. But the offensive line has really been struggling, and I think they'll still have a tough time with Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa, 11 sacks, at least 1 sack in the four of the last 5 games. So even with some injuries, I understand Fred Warner's stepping out. He might not play. They're still hoping that he might be able to play, but a hamstring, that's tough to deal with. But Al Shazier has been playing lights out. Kyle Shanahan talks about he's more than ready and more than capable of stepping into this role. So if you look at linebacker play over the last 3 games, it's been Al Shazier that's been balling out. Yeah, Fred Warner does his thing. There's no doubt about it. And he is the leader, a very vocal leader, but I don't think the 49ers will take too big of a step back against this offense, who they're talking about Adrian Peterson taking snaps. Yeah. But we look at the defense for the Seattle Seahawks. They've been stepping up mightily, and a lot of it has been bend but don't break. They rank in the NFL. Oh, I can't find it. Somewhere around here. They haven't allowed more than 23 points in a long time. They're fourth in opponent red zone scoring. That's the stat I was trying to look for. That is a huge stat when I look at here. And a big thing, are they going to be able to stop the San Francisco run game? And they've been pretty good against the run, allowing just 3.9 yards per carry. That's tied for second in the NFL. So if they can stop this rushing attack, which I believe they might be able to, I think they might do well. The 49ers, when you look at the QB ratings that they've allowed and the completion percentage, it's high. They're 24th and 23rd in the league. But if you look yards per attempt and yards per catch, yards per attempt, they are 9th in the NFL, 7.0, and yards per catch, they are tied 8th at 10.5. And Russell Wilson, if he can't go deep, he's got to be more methodical. That's going to eat up the clock. And that's what I like to see here. So if I talk about it over and over, I love the unders. Seahawks have been a big under team, 9-1-1 to the under, and I'm going to keep riding that train. Give me the under, Jimmy.
I love it. I got 45.5 last night. We can still get you a 45, and that's with low juice, minus 107 at circa. How many times? The more line shopping you do, the more you want to talk about circa. It's just over and over again. Their lines are very competitive. Circa for Americans, this is a book I would use. Pinnacle for Canadians, obviously. Birdie saying lots of late money coming in on that Lions Vikes over. I find this is a really tough week, and I have team totals and totals. This is one of my favorite looks on the board. I don't know why I wasn't on it earlier. When we watch these NFC West matchups, it becomes a real fight. The line of scrimmage is just a dangerous place, and scoring gets lower and lower, I find, later on in the season when these divisional rivals play. I love this look. Under 45 at minus 107 for Noli knows. Let's review his action. Under 43.5 at minus 110 in the Cardinals Bears. Under 44 in Eagles Jets, and under 45 at minus 107 in Niners Seahawks. Noli, we need more of you. We need more of you on the channel. We love working with you across the board. Everybody does. Thank you for rolling with us. Follow him on Twitter at Noli knows. Noli, any last words for these cappers supporting the show?
Oh man, just thank you for supporting. Hopefully I helped you out. Look at a couple angles, and I love me some college football. I mean, some NFL, but we got college basketball too, so don't ignore that.
Yeah, you've been crushing those unders in college basketball. I love it. I love it. There he is. Noli knows in the house. Noli, thank you for joining us, my man. Jason Falk, I didn't take the division. I didn't with the Niners. I just took, and I also only bet $50 on each bet. Like I don't know why I couldn't bet $100. Like just such a pussy ass move. But I got 30-1 for conference, 60-1 for the Super Bowl. $50 on each. It's, I don't know. All right, let's move on to the final guest here on the show. Started out here very strong with us, coming off a tough week, but we put him right back in. We want him right back in, the star of our No Clean Sheet soccer show every Friday. Please welcome to the show, Flash in the house. Flashy baby, what's happening?
Oh, honestly, my NFL pocket's been in A&E all week. Honestly, I am as low as snake's belly. I could get under a door with a top hat on. I got absolutely mauled last week. And then I added a few bets and they went pear-shaped as well. And it's one of those that as soon as you feel as if you're a little bit confident, you just get smacked in the mouth. So this week for me, it's back to basics. You know that I always say don't complicate it. So I've got a 2-team money line parlay and an under, and just thinking that's obvious. And I'm just want to get some more money back in the coffers for tomorrow night.
Well, let's discuss the money line parlay to get this show started. You start with the Vikings Detroit Lions spot, Ford Field, Detroit, Michigan. Here we have Darisaw out and Dalvin Cook out, but we've thought, and we heard Clint talk about what Madison can do when he's starting. He doesn't seem to be able to do that when he gets 5 to 10 carries a game, but when he knows he's going to get 20 plus carries, he rolls. And the big question marks are around Eric Kendricks and Anthony Barr, who are so needed defensively. But this Lions team has a ton of injuries right now, and the chat's been telling us that the over is getting steamed as we speak. So let's hear the beginning of your money line parlay. Flash, take it away.
Oh, it's the Vikings all day long. It's a must win for them. They've got what did I have them down at? I think I had them down that they're going to be finishing 9-8, 10-7 to get into the playoffs. They're an above average side on their day against the side that are average at best. And obviously with no Swift, I just see that the Vikings going to have their way. I don't want to get involved in the -7, the -7.5s that are out there. So just don't complicate it. I go with the Vikings. The Vikings are too strong. They'll stretch the field. I think they'll even get enough pressure up front as well. I only see one team really scoring here. So it was really easy for me just to pick maybe two sides at decent value that I didn't see getting beat. And it was the Vikings all the way for me.
The Vikings, and I'm going to get the very best money line to start the parlay.
Yeah, I mean, I gave it to you. When I sent it to you, it was like +125 with my other selection. And now I think the best I can see is around +116.
I'm not sure because Pinnacle still has really nice money line spots here. They're 25, 30 cents ahead of the rest of the market. So I'm going to keep, they just switched it too. They got a little bit worse in the last few minutes, but still, I think I can beat that with Pinnacle. Pinnacle money line right now is -291.
Oh, that's massive because a lot of them have around the -310, -315. So
and -330 is
great.
Yeah, so we'll start there. Let's move on to the next spot on the money line parlay. And it is a game we just talked about, so it's fresh in our memory. San Francisco 49ers at Seattle Seahawks.
Listen, I see these. I know they're banged up and against the side. I'll go with the 49ers all day here. I think these are a really dangerous side in the playoffs. I think that they're playing up against the Seattle Seahawks. There'll be no surprises. So again, as we've just heard, it's all going to be on the QB. I think the 49ers have their way. I think it'd be low scoring. Whenever it's low scoring, then obviously I don't want to be getting involved in giving up 3 points. I just want the 49ers to win. I know there's no Debo, but Mitchell's been having his way. Kittle's going to be a massive factor. Again, there's a massive gap here. We've got a 3-8. The season's over for them. The season is over against a side who, for me, are really, really going to be dangerous. So I'm just going to take the 49ers in a spot where I'm thinking, okay, I was expecting maybe to be -5 because the offense for the Seahawks has been non-existent. You wouldn't find it with a map or a compass. So for me, I'm going to go with the 49ers and the Vikings money line parlay, and I got my +125.
Yeah, with at Pinnacle with the minus 146 and the minus 291, you're getting a plus 126 parlay available as we speak right now. Vikings Niners money line parlay. Crystal Warren was talking about Pete Carroll on the Tuesday show, and she said that if he was your grandma, you would take the car keys away from him. Or grandpa. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those that I said it earlier. There's going to be no surprises from the Seahawks. I mean, this 49ers side are a massive upgrade on them. And it's like, okay, so what are you going to do? You're going to try and throw it? Yeah, okay, the 49ers have been a bit dodged when the ball's gone deep because you don't want to be getting involved with them, the front four, front five. So for me, I don't see the Seahawks putting any points on the board. I agree with Nolly. It's very seldom I don't agree with Nolly, but yeah, the under as well. But this week was just a get right spot for Flash. Just get profit. And I'm like, okay, there's so many games out there. And I could have gone with 4 or 5 different money line sides, but then one will let me down. So I'm just like, okay, where's my 2? The Vikings win, and it's a must win for teams. So, these were overs and that. It's all about the W. And if it's all about the W, give me the 49ers because I feel as if they are on a roll and they can't afford no slip-ups. So, again, it's just the 49ers and the Vikings. Vikings just because they're so much better than the Lions.
If I could get that hook again, I would take the Seahawks to cover at plus 3.5. It's now down to 3. I'm not going to take them at 3. But I guess part of my angle, and I would not take them. I'm not saying that, Niners are going to lose straight up here because they're playing really good football, the Niners right now. But the Seahawks, this is the last game that we're certain they're going to put out maximum effort in. Who knows what's going to happen after this? But
their maximum effort has not been anywhere near good enough. They just don't get enough points. And that's the big thing, because the thing is with the 49ers, they're balanced. They can throw it. They've got great runners from the back. Obviously, we know there's no Debo. But listen, they've got one of the best tight ends. We've got one of the hottest running backs. And the defense is always so sharp against this Seattle Seahawks. Listen, the Seattle Seahawks, for me, they're already thinking about the season's over.
Yeah, no, I get the idea. I get the angle. Definitely get it. 34% of tickets right now are on the Seahawks, but 45% of the cash on the spread. From the money lines, much different situation. 57% of the money line tickets are on the Niners, but 70% of the cash. So clearly some big bets have come in on the Niners money line. From a total perspective, though, we're going up against the market here. 47% of tickets are on the over, but 64% of cash, which is hard to imagine. Very, very hard to imagine.
Where does the over come from in this game, though? Are we seeing, even if it's we expect it to be a tight game, 1-possession game, that the Seattle Seahawks, even when they are dominating games, they find a way to win by 1 point, or they lose by 1 point or 2 points. I just see the 49ers being too strong for them. And they're going to force Russell Wilson to throw the ball. And you throw the ball, and then it goes back to what I said at the beginning. There's no surprises. They can set themselves. They can play a little bit deeper and attack the ball in front and not get done over the top.
Yeah, no, I get it. Puzzler talking about your parlay. He is thinking about adding the Colts money line to that parlay.
Yeah, that was mine. The Colts. But obviously, after the Colts let me down again, I'm like, okay, leave them. I just want my ammunition for tomorrow night.
Yeah, no, I get it. I like the way you're handling this card here. Blue says, is that a flash from the past, Jimmy? Great to see you, Jen. Stay safe. Great to see you, Blue. And yes, we love working with Flash, and I miss him very, very much from our times in Costa Rica together. Razor Sharp Pick says Jets +5 is my top play of the day. Razor Sharp Picks on the Jets +5. All right, the final game that we are breaking down on this show, we're 21 minutes till kickoff. Thank you guys so much for joining us here on Pub Sports Radio, is the Jacksonville Jaguars, LA Rams. And here you are speaking right to me, baby. I'm on this, but let's let you take it away before I jump and applaud it.
Yeah, it's basically the Rams under 48. There was 48.5 around as well. I just see only one team scoring, and this is all about a W. Stafford's not quite right for me, but he's just got to manage the game. He's just got to manage the game. The Jags are beyond awful. And I see that all these boys now are tearing themselves up. They're going to look after themselves. There's going to be no massive blowout. But when you're only looking at one side and they're only looking at a W, then what are you looking? Even at this, even a 31 17 or a 28-17. It looks like a blowout, but it's not. It's just so comfortable. And I don't even see the Jags getting 17. And I don't see, that means I don't need anything more than maybe 28. I'm with the Rams all the way to win this game, and I don't see it going over 48.
Yeah, I'm in complete agreement with you here. This is a great spot to. We talked about it on the Friday show, and we were talking about hockey. But the best bet in just hockey, but it works in all sports. But hockey, you can kind of branch out to all sports, is when you have a team that's very good playing against the worst team in the league. The key is you need that team that's very good to have lost 2 of the last 3 games or lost a couple in a row or have a reason that you know they're going to come in sharp. And when you have that, your ROI is through the roof. And I was talking about the Vegas Golden Knights Friday against Arizona Coyotes, and the Knights beat them 7-1. It was so easy for us to cash in that game because there was an angry Knights squad. This is the same thing here. This Rams team's
control the game, James. Control the game, and that's what you have. Where you have a big side, they get in front and they will control the game. So then you take away any chances of picks to encourage the opposition. Because listen, the Jags, they're going to just throw the ball, or they're going to take chances. The Rams are going to gobble them up. I just don't see the Rams wanting to give the opposition any encouragement whatsoever. So I can see this being a blowout, but nowhere near my 48. So I'm going under.
I got 48 on Tuesday. So at Circa right now, you're actually getting 3 cents better on the 48 than me, and I got it on Tuesday. But I also took the Jaguars team total under 16.5 at plus 105, and that hasn't moved at all. That's still right there, under 16.5 at plus 105. So that makes me a little nervous, just because of a late Jaguars touchdown. I mean, couldn't you see this 28-10?
Yeah, I was going to say, even if we went 31-13, do you know what I mean? I don't see 2 Jags touchdowns. I don't see more than 3 or 4 scoring possessions. I just see the Rams winning the game and making sure that from the day dot, from the first whistle, they are in control of the game. And it's them that decide what goes on.
Yeah, absolutely. And we want the Rams to get out to a nice lead. It'll do 2 things. One, the Jaguars will have to go for it, within the 40-yard line. They won't kick a field goal because they'll be down too much. So we'll get the turnover on downs that will help us cash the under. And then you're right about the Stafford back issues. They're just not going to push it. If they get up 21-3, it'll just be run the ball. Let's just get home healthy. I think this is a great
genius for these boys today.
Yeah, it's
hopefully like my card.
Moneyline parlay for Flash to get it started. That is the Niners and the Vikings. That available right now. That parlay available right now is at plus 126. Plus 126. And Puzzler is adding in the Rams and the Colts because getting a plus 216 on that parlay.
Yeah, I like that. But obviously, I've got big Rams action anyway in the long run.
Yeah, no, I know you do. And R says Rams going to dominate. Perfect spot. It is. Coco Bongo said last night Penguins minus 1.5 was a gift. They were angry after the Oilers game. Yeah, it's the best angle. And if you have a big favorite playing against the worst team in the league, and they've won 6 in a row or 5 in a row, and they're going to, you should stay off them. Your ROI is not going to be good. You need that team that's much, much better to have a reason, a tangible reason to be focused. And that's what the Rams have right here. There's Ron Crawford in the house. Great to see you, Ron. Ron's been running so hot of late. Flash, thank you so much for joining us. Follow our man on Twitter at Flash_37. Flash, my man, we love you. Any last words for the great Capper supporting the show?
Yeah, thanks for letting me share my pain with you.
He just disappears. Just fucks right off. I love the man. I miss him very, very much. There he is, Flash, coming to us live from Costa Rica. Ron Crawford spreadsheet play today is Denver. I think I already got you in on that, Ron. I think I've already copied and pasted that here. Hold My Beer says, so which 10-point team, which 10-point favorite is going to lose outright today? I've been doing well in my pools, and this week I was like, God, I feel like I'm going to get killed because the favorites look like they're the favorites for the right reasons, except for the Seahawks, which I kind of wish I got in. I wish I got in at that 3.5, and that was me just kind of being lazy. We'll see if that goes back to 3.5. Yeah, that was a mistake. So market moves here that have happened during the show that are important. 15 minutes till kickoff. The Chargers are back to 2.5. Those threes for the Bengals are gone. I think that's the biggest thing that's happened here. The Jets are down to 5-point dogs, so that's moved a half point. The Rams now are 14-point favorites at Pinnacle. And that's about it. Those are about the biggest market moves that have happened throughout the show. All right, let's review everything now from top to bottom. For me, I have just one side on this, and then totals. I have Bengals -3 and -115. And I'm now starting to beat myself up for not having the Seahawks +3.5. I have Bengals team total over 26.5. Colts team total over 27.5. Jacksonville, LA Rams under 48. Jaguars team total under 16.5 at +105. Giants team total under 16.5 +105. Denver, KC under 47.5 at -110. Those are all moves that I made on Tuesday night. The only addition I've made is San Francisco, Seattle under 45.5. Spreadsheet stat plays for Ron Crawford, Chargers, Washington football team, Denver, and the Giants. Jomo Kenyatta says, is in the house. Great to see you. Jomo in the house says, big up, Slime and Bet Boxes worldwide. Okay, let's move through Bebsy's action. He's got Arizona, Chicago under 45.5. That was one of Noli's unders. He's got the Falcons first half team total over 9.5. That was heavily juiced at some books. We ended up getting it for -116, but some books had that really heavy. Then we have Bengals -3, Chargers, Bengals over 51 at +101 for Bebsy, and that's dropped, obviously, to 49. Dolphins first half -2.5, -120. That was a great score for him. Wasn't available for me at the 2.5 at that point, and I just let it go. Colts team total over 27.5. He's with me there. He's got the Raiders -2.5, -107. He's got the Broncos +10 at -110, and his additions are in that Chargers Bengals game. He's got both quarterbacks to get over their rush props. He's got Burrow over 8.5 rush yards, and he's got Herbert over 15.5 rush yards. Jacksonville Zo, our number one ranked capper on the show, 6-2 plus 3.85 units. He got a bad number on the Philadelphia Eagles -7, -105. He tweeted out his action that he wanted for the game. Then he's got Pittsburgh +4.5. Broncos +10. He bought that half point at -120, and the Bills -2.5. Billy Brisbane joined us, and he's focusing on two games. He's on Derek Carr over 264.5 passing yards, and he is on Rob Gronkowski anytime touchdown. So the passing yards is at -120. The anytime touchdowns at +150. Then Clint, star of the DieHard MMA podcast, joined us. He's going heads up with me. He's on Chargers +3, -105. He's on the Vikings first half -3.5, -115, and he has a teaser that he tweeted out. That's Colts -4, Washington football team +7.5. And then he added the Logan Thomas anytime TD at +275. Sharpie comes in, mixing over 20.5, rushing attempts at +100. Ryan pass yards over 252.5 at -114. Gaskin rush yards over 50.5 at +100. Coop receiving yards over 94.5 at -115. Jackson pass yards over 232.5 at -115. Taylor over 104.5 rush yards at -113. Javonte Williams rushing receiving yards over 106.5 at +100. And Josh Allen rush yards over 34.5 at -114. And honestly, he's got a couple spots here that I would roll with, but I've made it a point. I'm just not going to bet player props. I've gone back into my records, and my ROI is just not good, and I have enough action. There's no need. That's why it's so important to track your action, to use your spreadsheets and see what you're succeeding with and see what you're struggling with. It's so crucially important. Okay, so next up there is Noli Knows. He's on the under 43.5 in Arizona Cardinals Chicago Bears. He's in the under 44 in Eagles New York Jets, and he's in the under 45 -107 in Niners Seahawks. And then Flash has the parlay for the Vikings and the Niners moneyline parlay, and the Jags Rams under 48 -107. There you have it. Curb stomp plays of the day from Mike M. He's got the Eagles game under 44.5 and the Minnesota spot under 47.5. And Ron Crawford gave us the spreadsheet play of the day for the Broncos. I believe he gave that to us on Tuesday night, but he gave it to us throughout the week. Big thank you to our guests. We had Jacksonville Zo. We had Billy Brisbane. We had Clint. We had Sharpie, Noli, and Flash. But a bigger thank you to all you guys in the chat. We are so lucky to cap with you guys day in and day out. Your support, your insights, your humor, you inspire us to work harder, and I'm just so thankful. It doesn't matter what's going on for us outside. We know that we can come here and cap with you guys, and it means the world. Harold Williams, Terry Walker, Mark Schillingberg, Viper NB, Ed Grinds, Ron Crawford, Jason Falk, LJ from H-Town, Hold My Beer, Arthur Mead Jr., Brooklyn Funk Project. What a great, great group. Puzzler, Coco Bongo, Birdie, Slatsy, Star Child. Thank you guys for your support. Let's have a giant Sunday. A giant Sunday. Let's get out there and get paid. I've had 5 straight winning weeks in NFL. Let's make it 6. Let's go.